Hey y'all, it's your girl Lisa. I am back with another solo episode. You're listening to the Live with Purpose podcast. I'm gonna tell y'all something. As long as you're alive, you have purpose. That's the whole vibe. That's what we're here to talk about. All kinds of stuff. Talk about life, navigating it and such. I ain't gonna hold y'all. For me personally, life has been lifing at a high capacity. So much so that I usually don't take notes. I'm usually like, I know what I want to say, like off the cuff. But today, to keep everything compartmentalized and on track, I took some notes today. So I'm going to be following some notes, but also still just vibing because if y'all have listened, you know, we just here. But enough further ado, let's get into today's episode. So I'm going to start with something God has been teaching me lately. Now, mind you, this is one of the things. But one thing he's been teaching me is that he is more invested in who I am than he is in what I do. Y'all won't believe how I arrived at this. So, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Barbie movie. If you haven't seen it, you may want to fast forward a little bit until I stop talking about it if you want to see it and you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it and you don't care to see it, listen to me, let's talk about it. So, the Barbie movie had me thinking all these thoughts about, like, my life has shifted a lot recently. And it left me thinking, like, what is there left? Like, who am I? What is going on? Which, if you saw the movie, it's the same thing that Barbie kind of is going through, where she's like, there's President Barbie, there's this Barbie, there's that Barbie, there's Dr. Barbie, and I'm just straight up Barbie. Like, what does that mean? And also, like, by the end of it, she arrives at this, like, conclusion that, like, it is okay to just be Barbie and want more. And want, like, to find more about yourself, to find more about the world around you. And when I tell you, I cried, like, 2 times in the theater, like, little tears. At the end of it, when I started processing the movie, mind you, credits rolling, people leaving the theater, I start sobbing. It was something. I was with my sister, and we're both, like, laughing. I'm laughing and sobbing because it's just like, yo, like, it's the Barbie movie. Are you okay? She wasn't okay. She was processing some things, but God is good. I would say there are people who are like, the Barbie movie was not that good. I get it, but I think it's because of when I saw it. I think God was intentional because I wanted to see it before, but in my mind, God was like, she still has some processing to do. Let me let her go to this movie at this point after all this stuff has happened so that she can process it, walk through it, and this will be something to help her. So I don't know. I think it depends on what stage of your life you're in when you see the movie. I think that's with anything. Where you're at in life, it might mean a little bit more to you than it did if you weren't messing with that, if you weren't struggling with that. So he's more invested in who you are than he is in what you do. And if that resonates with your spirit, watch the Barbie movie. It'll hit you. It'll bless you. I'm telling you, bless me. So let's get into today's episode topic, which is the thought of, like, being a kept woman. Because I ain't gonna hold y'all. I be tired of doing stuff. Like, does anyone else, like, I know I'm not alone. You get tired of, like, doing all the things. Like, you have to, like, I live by myself, so I have to wash my clothes. I have to clean up all the stuff. I have to pay my bills by myself. Huh? That in itself deserves a little selah, a little rest. Because, paying the bills by yourself? So then sometimes I'm just like, God, bring the man. Like, bring me a man to pay these bills, to help me with the household chores, to just take care of me. Sometimes I'm like, I don't think this is, like, what I had in mind when I had thought of, like, adulthood. I pictured easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl. You hear what I'm saying? Like, no problems. But, like, that just, like, has not been the reality. And I don't think that's supposed to be the reality, but I had this moment where I was like, all right, what if, like, I somehow find myself a really rich man and I marry him, then he can just take care of me for the rest of my life, problem solved, right? And I don't want you guys to worry. I arrived at a different conclusion because I feel like some of you are starting to think this whole boss lady thing that I've been talking about these past few weeks is now going to be undone. It's not. But go with me. I had this thought for a moment, right? So as I was thinking through this, I was like, that actually could be fun. Like, I don't see a problem with that. And then I was like, okay, what biblical examples do I have of, like, a woman or a wife that, like, was taken care of? And so God brought up to me Ruth in the Bible. You should read her whole story. I think it's only like 4 or 5 chapters. I may be wrong, but Ruth in the Bible. And basically, baby girl was like, okay, I'm going to follow my mother-in-law because her husband has died. The mother-in-law's husband has died. Everybody, like all the men in their family have died. And her mother-in-law was like, y'all, I'm not going to have sons for you to marry, so you should just, go on to your hometowns. And Ruth said, nah, I'm going to stick beside you. So great. They move on. They keep going forward. And I was like, okay, I have been taught to wait on a Boaz, that's Ruth's man, to wait on a Boaz to come and like be heroic. And they call him in the Bible the kinsman redeemer. Like I was like, lit. I'll just wait on my Boaz, no problem. He'll pay for everything. He rich, great. But like when I read it, I was like, Ruth didn't like sit around waiting for her Boaz to come. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, the way things been looking lately, I'm like, God, can I just sit here and wait for a man to come and save me? It's giving very much like Sleeping Beauty. Like, that's what I was looking for in my life. But that's like not a thing that we can actually do for numerous reasons that I'll unpack. But it's just not a thing. Like, even Ruth in the Bible, right? She didn't just happen upon Boaz. She was working in the field, putting in that work. You hear what I'm saying? And then Boaz noticed her. One thing led to another, kinsman redeemer. It's all great. They get married. I don't even know because we don't know the rest of Ruth's story, but I wouldn't imagine like she was such a ride or die person and she was working so hard that I can't imagine that once she got with Boaz, she was like, okay, I'm not going to work anymore or I'm not going to do anything anymore. I'm sure she did something. I'm sure she upheld some kind of something, right? So then I was like, all right, God. So it's giving, I can't just sit here and do nothing until my man comes, until my Boaz comes. Heard you. But like what other examples of women are there in the Bible that I could like look to? So I thought about the Proverbs 31 woman. Now I've been known, if you just want to do nothing, the Proverbs 31 woman is not your example. Huh? Sis was working hard. Sis had businesses. Sis was out there being admired by her children, admired by her husband. She was working hard. She was taking care of the house. Huh? Like, sis was, like, the definition of a baddie, in my opinion. She was a boss. So I said, all right, I can't find a single biblical example of a woman who was just kept and did nothing. Like, even if you think about, like, even Esther. Esther was a kept woman, but she still had to fast. She still had to be out there for her people. Like, God still had a purpose for her life that had to be fulfilled. Even if she could have just sat in the palace, babe, you still got to do something. Like, there's still a call on your life. And so I was like, okay, God, I can't find any biblical examples of this, but there's one place I know I can look for all things I need to find. The TikTok, right? So I get on the TikTok, and I'm like, okay, I know there's a video of a stay-at-home wife that I could look at that's going to be like, okay, this is the life I want to live. Not even stay-at-home mom, because that's another thing. I know being a stay-at-home mom is actual real work. Raising kids, taking care of kids, that's real work. It's not work that I'm not interested in. It's just I'm not in that station of life right now. I would be a stay-at-home wife before I would be a stay-at-home mom, right? So then I thought, and I was like, okay, stay-at-home wife. They still taking care of the house? You hear what I'm saying? I saw this one NFL wife. She was like, yeah, I go get his dry cleaning. I make sure our house is clean. I'd make sure like our gardeners know what they got to do. Like her title in my mind was house manager and wife. Huh? She not just sitting at home doing nothing. And so I was like, God, if I can't find it in the Bible and I can't find it on TikTok where you can find anything, especially things from the world. You hear what I'm saying? Like I literally can't find an example of like a kept woman the way I'm thinking about it. And I was like, then like, what's going on? And so then going to church, as one does, there was a message my pastor preached about basically like how purpose always like requires you to work. There is no way to accomplish everything and feel fulfilled and feel like you're walking in purpose without a little fight. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to be a little bit knuck if you buck. You got to put forth some kind of effort. You can't just sit at home doing nothing. And when I tell you I had that realization, and it kind of was just like, thought about all the times in my life I felt the most fulfilled. It came from like doing something, from like working at something and having a job well done. And like, I also thought about the whole, as Christians, our vibe is like to hear the words, well done, my good and faithful servant. Like we want to hear that from God. And I never, I can't think of anyone who's going to hear my well done, my good and faithful servant without doing anything, without walking in purpose. Like it's going to require something. So at that point I was like, okay, I want to live a life of purpose, but God, like, I was still on this I want to be a kept woman vibe. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, God, like, but if I could just marry a man who's like rich, right? But also lets me sit at home and make content, do ministry all day, that would be ideal. You know what I'm saying? And then it came to me. I was thinking like, Lisa, like, that's A, still doing something so great, but B, like, to get to the point where you can sit at home making content all day and sit at home doing ministry, there's other things you need to learn. There's just, personally, I'm gonna keep it a buck. This is not, how pastors be like, this is not in my notes. This is not something I planned on saying. But it's like, it could be so easy for me to not want to do anything. Like, I know what area I struggle with, and I think a lot of us probably struggle with, is like, laziness isn't the best word, but like getting up and going after something, it can be exhausting. It is tiring. So with that in mind, I was like, Lisa, you got to overcome that. To be like, if you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to do whatever this thing is, because I'm not sure of the fullness of it, I think God is still revealing it. But if you really just want to sit at home and do ministry, or sit at home and help people grow on social media, or sit at home and like whatever you want to sit at home and do, first of all, there are remote jobs for that. That's the first thing. Second, like, there's more you have to grow in. Like, I have gotten so much better in the past month, I would say, at my get up and go, at my not letting my laziness affect me, not getting caught up in this, not kind of getting caught up in that. In the past month, I've gotten a lot better at that. And also just my capacity for life has to grow. Like, I think I am so self-aware of myself to know that, like, sis still has some growing to do. And in order to get to that, you have to go through some stuff. You have to, maybe it'll come through your job. Maybe it'll come through people you meet. Maybe it'll come through life circumstances. There are so many ways that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen if you just sit at home doing nothing. So then when I had that reality check, I was like, okay, so I'm going to keep doing stuff, obviously, because I am determined to have all that God has for me. And I'll be honest with y'all, in the past 2 months, when was June, July, like a few months, the past 2-3 months, that is really when this has set in for me, is like, I am determined to have everything that God has called me to. I'm determined to go after everything that God has put in front of me, everything he's promised me. There's an old song that people used to sing. I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole from me. Because really, like, when you sit at home thinking, I don't want to do anything. Oh, I'm procrastinating. Oh, I don't, like, it's straight up, first of all, it's disobedience, which is like not the vibes we're trying to create. And also it's like the enemy has taken something from you. And I am determined to get it all back, 7-fold, 10-fold, double whatever numbers. Listen, there are a lot of numbers in the Bible about it says when the thief comes, he owes you double. That's literal. But then there's all these other numbers in the Bible. But either way, you gonna get more than what he stole. And I literally am so into that idea right now that I cannot just sit at home doing nothing. I cannot just like give into laziness. Listen, because it'd be so easy. It could all be so simple, but you rather make it hard. That's what like purpose is. It's actually not hard to get up and go after the things that you want, but we make it hard in our heads. I literally remember I was supposed to send an email for something. I procrastinated for weeks. You know how long it took me to send the email? 5-10 minutes. We procrastinate on things that like, it don't take all that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even as deep as you're making it, you know? But again, that's like the preacher say. I was out my notes on that one. But yeah, I just think stop procrastinating. Go after what God is calling you to, because it's like if you don't, you run the risk of missing the real blessing. And how tragic would that be? Can you imagine getting to the end of your life and realizing that God had more for you, you just didn't go after it? Oh my God. I've never thought about that until this moment. Hate it. 0 stars. Wouldn't want to do it. I literally cannot imagine. So I'm determined to go after all of it right now. And listen, it may be one of those situations where I pass the baton to somebody else. My child one day, somebody who I've been mentoring one day, whatever that looks like. Because I think there's this part in the Bible in Hebrews 11 where it talks about, some people call it the heroes of faith, and how these people had all this faith to carry things out and move forward and believe God and all this stuff. But they never saw the fullness of what they were working towards. But to me, that kind of just speaks to the importance of legacy and building up something as much as you can to hand it off to somebody. It's just a powerful thought to me that it's like we may not see the fullness of everything we prayed for, but we will see parts of it. And because life is eternal when we're Christians, we'll see it carried out in the next generation. And that's just such a powerful thought. But can you imagine like your child having to work harder because you didn't do what you were supposed to do at your leg of the race? Again, a thought I just had in this moment. Crazy. So again, whether it's my child, somebody I'm mentoring, whatever it looks like, I just want to do what God is calling me to do in my season, so that when the next season comes for the next person, they don't have to undo or redo everything I was supposed to do. I also have thought about this. Okay, again, we're really on a tangent, but in terms of like a generational blessing and generational curse, like, we talk about generational curses so much, but there's also a such thing as a generational blessing that I personally think we sleep on a bit. So when it comes to generational curses, yeah, I want to conquer all my demons, get past everything so that the next generation doesn't have to deal with it. But I also want to plant seeds that will sprout a generational blessing for people to come, for years to come. And to me, that's just the importance of legacy, of building up something that's going to outlast you, whether it's the concept of faith in your family. I have met people who they are the first people in their family to believe in God, and then they've inspired their current family line, and in the name of Jesus will inspire future family lines. Like, that is such a powerful concept to me. So whether it's a building up a legacy of faith, building up a legacy of wealth, building up a legacy of entrepreneurship, building up there's so many, like, just building a legacy in your life and in your family, like, what a powerful thought. And I ain't trying to be missing out on that, because my kids gonna eat, my family gonna eat, the next generation that comes after me that might find this podcast one day, whatever, they gonna eat, they gonna be good, they gonna overcome. You hear what I'm saying? Because I'm not gonna sleep on what God is calling me to. So to get us back on track with what I was actually trying to talk to y'all about, see, that's why I told y'all I tried to take notes. Yeah, here we are. Anyways, it don't matter. Anyways, to get us back on track with what we were talking about earlier, I was thinking about this concept of being a kept woman. I was like, okay, God, I'm going to go after everything you called me to. I'm going to move forward, all that good stuff. Got you. But, however, like, these bills still got to be paid. Like, they're very real. They're very much here. And all this stuff still has to be done. And then I thought about the truth that lies in being a child of God. And this one messed me up because I've been sleeping on it. As children of God, we are literally the children of the Most High God, who has endless resources, endless things, all this stuff. We are his children. He has adopted us into his family. We don't have to want for anything. So I'm walking around talking about, I want to be a kept woman. I want to be a kept woman. When I already am. I literally already am. Everything that he has for me, he has for me. I don't deserve it. I couldn't earn it. You know the song? I don't deserve it. I couldn't earn it. Still you give yourself away. She's in a sing-song mood today. Huh? Somebody call a record deal, because literally there is nothing we can do to earn God's love and to earn the grace he gives us, but he gives it freely. And that is such a crazy concept. And so crazy that sometimes I forget it in little ways, like this whole being a kept woman thing. I'm already a kept woman because I am a child of God. I already have everything that he promised me. I just have to step into it. I just have to realize it. I just have to come in alignment with it. And what a powerful, powerful, powerful thought. Like, I don't need to work. I actually, like, literally, the Bible says, take my yoke upon you, for the burden I give you is light. I may have messed up the wording, but y'all know the scripture. Y'all can look it up. Like, when we talk about a yoke, like, I think this is the common like something we don't look into enough, because sometimes we just be reading the Bible and not really understanding the context. A yoke is like something that would bind together two animals so that they would walk in stride with each other. So being binded to God, for lack of a better term, is supposed to be easy. The burden he gives us to carry is supposed to be light. The reason it seems heavy sometimes is because we're trying to do it in our own strength. My God, today. I just got a visual of like walking in step with God, but instead we're trying to walk ahead of God. God, here it comes. God, I want the husband now. God, I want the $1 million in my bank account now. God, I want this now. Like, we're literally, when we talk about being children of God, we're literally children. Like, it's giving, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? It's giving, I want it now. I want it now. Like, it's giving temper tantrum, literally. And God is such a good father, because even in the midst of our temper tantrums, he's like, I love you. It's coming. Come back here for a little bit. I need you to learn this thing before we move forward. Like, he's so patient and so loving with us, even when we don't deserve it, because we never really do. And even when we don't listen, I can speak for myself. There are lessons I never want to learn again. So I'm like, listen, I'm going to learn this right here. God, what was it? Let me understand. So because I don't want to do it again. I don't want to run that back. Let's learn it now. And then also, like, there's this concept of like cycles in a negative way, which I just talked about, which is like, you don't learn it, so you got to go through it again. You don't learn it, so you got to go through it again. But when we think about cycles, we also need to think about cycles of blessings and cycles of grace and cycles of love. Like, yeah, I've messed up, but every time God has shown me his love. Yeah, I've been out of this, out of that, out of a job, out of money, out of whatever, but God has always provided for me. Like, those are things that we can recognize and, you know, really cling to and believe in and focus on. So those are all the things I wrote down, and some I didn't. It's just, overall, if I could say one thing about this episode, it's like, remember whose you are. Because, you know, we always say, remember who you are, remember whose you are. More importantly, if you remember, I'm a child of God. Everything I need is provided for me. If you remember that first and foremost, remembering who you are, remembering what you have, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Your discipline comforts me. Your guidance comforts me. All of it comforts me. There's a song called Safe in His Arms. It's one of my mom's favorite songs. And it just talks about, it's literally that scripture, but it's just like, because the Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. He lets me rest in the meadow's grass and leads me beside the quiet seas. And that's why he restores my failing hand and helps me to do what honors him the most. And that's why I'm safe in his arms. Like, we are kept. We are safe. In his arms. Anywhere else, not so much. You hear what I'm saying? In alignment with him, we're kept. In his arms, we're kept. Everywhere else, not so much. So, for some of y'all, this is the message to slow that thing down, huh? Be a little bit more patient. For some of us, it's the message of, hey, speed up a little bit. Let's get in step with God. So whatever that looks like for you, I just encourage you to do so. I love you, and I'm thankful for you listening to this podcast. I hope none of this was too strongly said, because I'm not going to lie, when it hit me, it hit me. So if it's hitting you, just know it's coming out of love and experience, and you're not alone. It's your sis, Lisa. I think I'm signing off. If you want to follow me on the Instagram and such, it's at Lisa K. Satchel. You can follow this podcast at Live with Purpose Pod. And yeah, I'll keep praying for y'all. Y'all keep praying for me. And we finna ride out. I don't know what that means. We're finna live our best lives. How about that? Okay, I love you guys. I appreciate you for watching. As long as you're alive, you have purpose. Keep going. Keep moving forward. Don't quit. Don't get tired. Chug a Red Bull, get some coffee, and keep it pushing. Period. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.